Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. I'm here with Randy Hare at Randy Hare's Alpha Canine Academy, and we just wrapped on a day of training. I wanted to shoot this video. I've been wanting to do this video for a while because, for a long time, Randy Hare's been at the forefront of detection, constantly innovating and just helping people bring out the best in their dog's potential. So if you're new to the detection game, maybe you're like a lot of the people that subscribe to my channel, you're doing a sport dog, you haven't maybe seen the other end of the spectrum where dogs are toy rewarded. He has a very distinct training system, and I'm going to let you tell him about it. He's going to tell you a little bit about how he got started and what benefits his system has to offer.
All right. Well, basically, thank you for the compliments and the opportunity to do this little podcast. It, first and foremost, I want everybody to understand that I've been doing this for a long, long time, and no matter how long you do it, like myself, I still learn something every day, every single day, and you never get to the top so much that you know everything or can actually say that you put yourself above somebody else. It's kind of a dog eat dog world out there, and I know there's a lot of egos floating around. And I guess everybody's got an ego, but we have to learn to keep that thing in check. And people ask me all the time, is what you do the best way to go? Well, it might be for some dogs, and another way might be best for some of the other dogs. You never know until you know the dog. And I've had people tell me before, or say before, or heard that it gets back to me that they've said, well, Randy Hare's got to have a certain dog in order to do that. You're damn right. I got to have a certain dog. And I'm going to find that dog to utilize in this technique because I've experienced that. I've been in law enforcement, and I've been part of I don't know how many drug arrests and drug busts. And well over 50 of those have been major busts out on the interstate working interdiction to where the dog was instrumental. Not where he just got a picture in front of a bunch of dope that happened to be taken off somewhere. The dog was instrumental in making these cases. Instrumental in establishing probable cause where we could further the investigation over and above a traffic stop in order to find out what other violations might be going on. And all too often, they had to do with drug smuggling, And, that's where you start to understand and know that maybe you got something going on. Maybe you're on the right track. And the biggest thing in training detection dogs and working a dog on the street is the percentage of false alerts to good alerts that you have. I can honestly say that every time I've made a case, I never had to worry about my dog false alerting. And I never had to worry about him false alerting because he never learned to false alert. And if they don't learn to do something the wrong way, they never experiment with that particular avenue because it hasn't been presented to them. At no time do I ever go up to a dog and lead him by the nose and try to show an animal who's been doing this in his generations of species for the last 100,000 years to do something that he already knows to do. There's one expert in that room, and it ain't us. It's the dog. And back when I first started, in training and wanted to train detection dogs, I bought into all of that stuff where we were trying to talk the dog into doing something. Patting will say, what's this? What's this right here? What's this right here? The human being thinking that he knows something more than the dog does about odor and what odor does is pretty funny. At the end of the day, that dog is the true expert. So when we do our training, I had to learn to get out of the way, establish an environment that allowed the dog to learn for himself. And don't worry about a trained final response. If you have a trained final response, then the dog does it for some reason or another sometimes because he was trained to do it. Even the sit, when you tell the dog to sit several times, and finally the dog says, well, I learned to do it under the pretense of obedience. Yeah, but now we're doing it in detection, and you want the dog to differentiate the difference. At the end of the day, when you're leading the dog around there and you stop and you start tapping on something in order to have the dog alert or to give a sit, and then you get around behind him and think that you're fooling him by throwing the toy in, you're not fooling diddly squat. Dog already knows where it's coming from. And we as humans think that we have to fool them into doing that. We as humans take a part of the obedience and try to force the dog to do a sit-type behavior so that we can say he has a trained final response, when the whole time we instigated that. Had somebody ask me one time, can you talk your dog into a false alert? Absolutely not. I can't, because we never taught him to alert under those pretenses. The alert that we use is established by the dog, and we refer to it as behavior consistent with the expectation of being reinforced. And we find that that has commonalities in every time the dog gives us some sort of a final response. He starts exhibiting those behaviors. And he doesn't do it for any other reason except for he's at the source. And when I go to pay the dog, I don't try to reach around and try to fool the dog into knowing where the reward's coming from. I don't ever combine the substance with the reward object. It's one of those type things where when the dog gets to the source, that reward object is going to come to that place, and we're going to have reinforcement, not for a split second, where you throw it in there and it goes over here and gets it. I don't want any downtime in the training. I don't want any wasted time in the training. So when I go around and I reinforce him or give him the reward object he has, and I create that game, we're going to be there for a few moments. I'm going to make sure I'm in a position where the dog actually smells the substance while he's getting that game or that fight. And when the game's over with, boom, the whole exercise is over with. You see, you think it's something special when you dump the tennis balls over the dog's heads. Oh my God, that's voodoo or something. It's not voodoo, because the ball is not really what the dog's after. He's after the game. The wolf is not really, after the odor of the rabbit. It's just a clue that brings him to the rabbit, that causes him to be able to bring that rabbit into his being. And there is no nutritional value in just the odor, unless he gets to the substance. There is no value in getting to the substance unless we create that game at the substance. Again, the odor is nothing more than a clue that brings them to where the substance is. And we, as good handlers, all we have to do is sit back and read that and make sure that nothing bad happens to him. Now, I'm not saying work the dog totally off leash all the time. I use a long line, or I'll use a flexi lead when I'm working the dog and he's going around a car, to allow him a little latitude to get around there. But make no mistake, when he smells the odor, he believes in his soul that he's going to be able to get to it. And when he tries like heck to get to it, I can read that behavior. And I never had to worry about it being wrong. I don't know if that's what you asked me, but that's
Well, yeah, and then that, for somebody like me that's been around for a while, everything you said just, made sense, because I've been part of that, where, we're keeping the leash tight and we're trying to, teach the dog where to go. And, over the years, even the dogs I brought here, I can see constant improvement. And it's something, it's like poetry in motion when you see, for example, a couple of weeks ago we were doing training and we put odor inside a book and just sat it on a desk.
Mm-hmm.
And, my dog's over there, and so he touches his nose to the book and he sits down. And then the next thing you know, he's literally flips open the book and there it is, that nose right there. I mean, I said, man, that's beautiful. Boom, that's what we want. So, I try to tell people, and the thing is that if you've been around long enough and you've seen kind of, I guess, how we've grown in detection, because some of the things you talked about, like I can remember the first dog that I worked with, we used the terry cloth method, where it was actually wrapped, the dog was wrapped in the terry cloth. So to me, it's kind of a nice history to see how we've progressed training-wise in the past, obedience and detection in the past, 20, 30 years. And I don't feel like I'm that old, but it's kind of like cars, from the 80s to now. You see how things have changed and how we're becoming more accurate and more precise in certain things. So I guess, probably on top of just talking about it, probably we'll work some clips in here, I guess, to kind of explain.
Yeah, I mean, I always work some clips in, and we want to realize that when I was talking about helping the dog a while ago, we constantly think that we have to take something and put the dope inside of it and throw it out there, and the dog runs out there and he picks this up and he brings it back, and we think, okay, he's being imprinted, he's smelling that odor, but he's also smelling a couple other different odors. He's smelling the odor of the container that it's in. Mm-hmm. He's smelling the substance. Yay, right. We got that. He's smelling your odor, because when you throw it, you isolate your odor along with that other out there. So that's the reason the dog is hitting stuff that has your odor all over it. It's the ground disturbance from where it hits the ground. Don't think that they don't know that. When you take it out there in the middle of the field and you put it down somewhere and come back, do you think the dog's not smart enough to track you to where it's at?
Yeah.
Hello, McFly.
Yeah.
They are. So we have to realize that in both trailing and tracking, whatever you want to refer to it for whatever reason, everybody's got their own opinions. And detection work, the dog has got to have the freedom to make you famous instead of you getting out there trying to show the dog what to do. Because every time you go out there and show the dog what to do, especially if you slow down long enough to talk the dog into some sort of alert and then he does it and you put that in your records that you did it right, you have to realize too that before long you've got to train some handler to do something stupid like keep his damn feet moving like he's walking when he's really not, to try to keep from influencing the dog into making some sort of a final response. What? Is that what it's come to? Yeah. I've seen dogs out there searching, and when they go the wrong way, you see them stem them with a remote collar. Hey, are you serious? Is the value built enough in the substance that the dog is going to try to get to it no matter what? And that's where this system is right for those dogs. Back in the day, the Labrador retrievers, a lot of them, you use the long-range drive, which I refer to as the long-range retrieve drive, because that's what those dogs were built for. That's what they live to do, is to retrieve. The dual-purpose dogs, however, they had the retrieve, they had the long-range drive too, but it was mainly based out of the short-range drive. And when I say short-range drive, it's when a dog grabs something, wants to hang on to it, and wants to pull it. And then when it becomes loosely, he comes and brings it right back into you to do it again. Why? Because he's figured out that this is more value if there's a game attached to it. We simply create that game at that source. So it's not about the reward objects. They can give a darn about that unless it's in conjunction with the substance that we want to find. The real, 100% real substance that we have to find. Not fake stuff, not off-the-wall stuff, real. Yeah.
Sounds good. So I want to thank you for sitting down and doing this interview. And we're gonna close this out. We're gonna end the video with some highlights, actually seeing some dogs, probably in different levels of training, work utilizing his rack and his system, so you can get a highlight and see how this works. But more than anything, folks, you can check him out. You can find him at, what's your website?
It's randyhare.com or alphacanine.com.
And I do know there was some wonderful videos. There was a video series. There's actually 2 video series that a company did with you.
It's Canine Training Systems at caninetrainingsystems.com. They did a wonderful 2 video series that kind of brings to the forefront the advancements in the system. And both of them are really, really good. They have them streaming. I don't think they sell the DVDs, but you can order the subscription for the streaming part. And we also will have some video nuts and bolts type things on Patreon soon that people can watch and subscribe to, and actually understand totally what it is. I mean, you're working the dog within what his ability really is without any confusion. No conflicts.
Good deal. And what I'll do is in the links, so in the description on this video, down the links, I'll put the links to everything that he just mentioned, so you can go on there and check out the video series, check out his website, look and see. I know you do several workshops a year. Maybe check out one of his workshops. But folks, as you're improving your knowledge of odor. I always say like coming here is like Jedi's coming to a Jedi temple. So every time I'm here, I learn something. So check that out. Thank you for watching the video, and we'll see you next week.